Hello, hello. Welcome in. Give me 1 second, please. 1 second. And then we will get started. We'll give people just a couple seconds to get in here. All right. All right. All right. All right. There we go. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Hello, Satcha Booze. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. Welcome in. All right. How are you, my friend? And happy Friday to you. Happy Friday. All right, we are going to get started, y'all. Of course, we have our reading today from the Daily Stoic, as we do every day. I love sharing part of my morning routine with you. As you remember, January was focused on clarity. January was focused on clarity. February is focused on passions and emotions. Passions and emotions. And today is February 20th. Yes. Yes, it is the 20th. I had to double check myself. I tried to make myself go back and say that it was the 19th. Thank you for the share. Y'all, welcome in. Welcome in. All right. The title of today's reading is The Grand Parade of Desire. The Grand Parade of Desire. And we start with a quote by Marcus Aurelius. Robbers, perverts, killers, and tyrants gather for your inspection their so-called pleasures. Okay? Robbers, perverts, killers, and tyrants gather for your inspection their so-called pleasures. And here's the reflection of the day. It's never great to judge other people, but it's worth taking a second to investigate how a life dedicated to indulging every whim actually works out. The writer Anne Lamott jokes in Bird by Bird, ever wonder what God thinks of money? Just look at the people he gives it to. The same goes for pleasure. Look at the dictator and his harem filled with plotting, manipulative mistresses. Look at how quickly the partying of a young starlet turns into a drug addiction and a stalled career. Ask yourself, is this really worth it? Is it really that pleasurable? Hello, faithfully created. Consider that when you crave something or contemplate indulging in a harmless vice. Wow. So a lot of times, the way my interpretation of this reads and how it speaks to me is the other day we talked about the grass being greener on the other side. Okay, the grass being greener on the other side. We've talked about what we see is the highlight realm. So many times we have glamorized the people in high society and in the spotlight. Okay. We see all the fancy cars. We see all the fancy jewelry. We see the designer clothing and all of the handbags. Hello, welcome in. We see all of that stuff. All of that stuff. But what's going on behind that? With some people, they're getting it honestly. And I definitely don't want to take that away from them. But when it gets to the point of greed, when it gets to the point of compulsion, we have an issue. We have an issue. We have the things that we need. We hope that we have the things that we need. And I love having some, if not most, of my wants with my priorities in order, of course. But with this, I think this reading is really talking about those who we see in higher places, it's almost that they're displaying their negative qualities. We talk about how it's never great to judge other people, but it's worth taking a second to investigate how a life dedicated to indulging every whim actually works out. I need to take just a quick sip of water. Excuse me. Um, Self-control is everything, and that's what we've been focusing on for the whole month is passions and emotions and being able to control them. Now we have people who jump out at every whim, and sometimes we think that there's nothing wrong with that. Just like he mentioned about the young starlet, you may have a little experiment with some type of drug or alcohol or what have you, okay? And then it becomes more and more and more and more because we're giving into our compulsions. And then what happens? Is there an overdose? Is there an addiction? What happens? So we have to be very, very careful about how we respond to those impulses. Stop, think, reflect, do. Okay? Stop, think, reflect, and do. We want to make sure that what we're doing, even though it may be enjoyable at the time, is not something that's going to compound over time and cause some type of detriment to us or to our families. Okay. Would love feedback in the chat about this. Um, this is one that just speaks to self control, just quite simply, self control, absolute self control. Be aware of the things that you see that look so glamorous, but understand what's behind it. Just like we said the other day, all that glitters ain't gold. Hey, awesome finds. Hello, sweets. All that glitters ain't gold. So we have to understand that when we see the highlight reel, we have to understand what's behind that. And when we have our own reflections and we have our impulses and we focus on those impulses, take a second to really understand and make a conscious decision of if you want to partake or not, because you want to understand those long-term results. Okay. I had homework from yesterday because we were talking about being busy and not being productive. And I told you all that my husband has a saying that he tells his team all the time. And I thought it was really catchy and I couldn't think of the exact wording. I knew what it was about, but I couldn't think of the wording. The wording was this: don't confuse activity with accomplishment. Don't confuse activity with accomplishment. We were talking yesterday about the need to have a plan to be productive because busyness is not going to necessarily mean that we're being productive. So remember today, control our impulses. Think about how we want to partake, even if it's food, y'all, even if it's food. Think about, let's say that we have a whole, I don't know, Hershey pie in front of us, let's say. And let's say that's our favorite dessert. Can we have a slice? Absolutely. But what happens if we have a slice and then another and then another? And what happens if we start to create that as a daily habit? It's not going to be good for our health. It's not going to be good for our heart. It could develop some type of diabetic effect even. So we just have to be careful, always take things in moderation and always consider what that end result will look like. And most importantly, in every single day, as we contribute to this beautiful earth that we have the privilege of being sharing with others, always remember that you don't confuse activity with accomplishment. I love that saying. Don't confuse activity with accomplishment. All right, here we go. Here's our card for the day. We always end in a card for the day. Hey, educator, good morning. Did you hear my husband's little phrase? Don't confuse activity with accomplishment. That was my homework from yesterday. Satchaboo's, thank you. Thank you. All right. So today's card reads, I dwell in possibility. I dwell in possibility. And that's a quote by Emily Dickinson. I'll share this with you as well. Yes, that's a good one. That is a good one. I think I'm going to add that to my vision board too. Um, One of the things that I shared yesterday is I am really participating on my Lenten journey for the next several days until Easter. So about 40 days. And I've really taken time every day to reflect what I want to look like at the end of the 40 days. What do I want to, health wise, what do I want to change? So I make it a priority to do something differently or consistently that will contribute to my health, even self care. What do I want to do professionally? What do I want to do better as a wife and mother of adults? What do I want to do better with my social selling opportunities? And so it's really making me reflect and understand how to um, evaluate what I did the day before to see how much closer it got me to my goal. The other thing we talked about yesterday was time blocking, and I said I was going to start back time blocking. And yesterday I time blocked for work, and I was so clear, absolutely clear. Hello, Savvy. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in, honey. I was very clear. I was very linear. I didn't start, stop, have mania about just having to answer everything at once. It was so refreshing. And at the end of the day, instead of feeling like, oh, so glad this day is over, I felt energized. I felt energized. I had a very clear plan for my action for today. And even some of my action steps for next week, I was just able to project so much better of what I needed to do, when I needed to do it, and how to create that timeline. So I would encourage, as we're talking about activity, as we're talking about being very intentional in what we do and being more creative and productive, I definitely recommend time blocking. We talked about grit. We talked about all of the things that we're doing to have more self control, to equate to more productivity and accomplishment. So, one of the things I would recommend as a homework assignment for you all, time block your calendar for your day. Make this time. This time is, and I color block as I time block. So my pink time is for me or my family. So this morning I did a show, a quick pop on this morning, but I also have a pink time scheduled for this. This feeds my soul. Okay. So this is my self care. This is part of my self development. um, from 8 to 9 for work, I'll focus on emails, follow ups from yesterday, and making sure I have the plan that I created for today has not needed to be adjusted. After that, is all work tasks and things that are more revenue producing. Okay. That's always colored in green. The things that I do that are kind of maintenance for work, those are colored in yellow. Okay. Those are colored in yellow. But the things that I do for work that are producing revenue or that are, something that I need to follow through on that will produce revenue. Good morning, Vestige by V. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining. Those are the types of things that are in green. It means that these things are necessary to produce the revenue that I have as a goal. And then at the end of the day, it goes back into the yellow for a time span. And in the yellow, what I'm doing is I'm doing a wrap up of the day, going back to my emails, returning phone calls that I may have missed or texts that I may have missed. And I'm also making my plan for next week. Okay. So that's what I did yesterday. That's what I used to do. And it used to work really, really well for me. And then I just got into a state of chaos and, I just wasn't intentional. But when I'm intentional, I feel like I get so much more accomplished. Yes, a busy day, but every day is a busy day. Every day for me is a busy day, but at the end of the day, what have I really accomplished? Because I don't want to say that I'm busy. I want to say that I am productive and I'm reaching those goals. So that's why, and the time blocking actually, like I said earlier, it makes me feel like although I'm busy, it makes me feel like I'm not as tired from being busy because it's orderly, it's linearly, I know what's coming next, and I know how to execute. So I am, y'all, and if it weren't for this conversation yesterday, I wouldn't have even thought back to going to time blocking. So this is so beneficial for me. I hope it's beneficial for you. But I tell you, a little bit at a time, just a little chunk every day can really make a difference. And that's what I'm looking forward to in this next little over a month, almost a month and a half, is to see how far I've come. I'm charting my course. I'm taking intentions from here and I'm doing things every day. Thank you, Awesome Finds. Doing things every day that will get me a little closer to my goal and doing things a little differently every day that makes me better. And that's all we can ask for. All right. That is all we can ask for. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining. I even do these on the weekends. I don't, typically talk a whole lot, but I do read the selection for the day for that date, and we'll do our daily card or what have you. But when it's during the work week, sometimes I just feel the need to just kind of I appreciate you all allowing me to think about what I'm doing differently for the day, and I hope that it helps someone else. And I'll be honest with you, when I do things that don't work, I tell you that too. Yes, that is all we can ask for. Absolutely faithfully created. All right, you guys. Well, much love. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Have a great weekend. If you want to join me over the weekend, I'll be here doing the same thing. I'll also have some shows over the weekend too. Thank you, Satchaboos. Thank you, Savvy. Thank you, Educator. Yes, have a beautiful day, everyone. And let's see here. Let me find who we're rating today. Da, da, da. You know what? I am going to go into Zoe's Treasures. She does a great show on, we're shifting a little bit, but she does a great show. Many of you in here are resellers. She does, thank you, Awesome Finds. She does a great show on business practices overall, and she does a lot with tax advice. She is a CPA. She's not going to give you particularly advice, but she talks a lot about what we need to think about when we are preparing for tax season as self-employed people, particularly as resellers. So let's see what Zoe's Treasures is up to. Please drop some elephants in the chat. She is a wonderful, wonderful resource. She does great shows every Friday on the business of whatnot. So let's go see what she's talking about today. Let's get better every day. I love you guys so very much. And we are going. Elephants in the chat when you get there. Love you guys. Bye.